Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's been over a month now, or nearly a month since I last posted a video. I've been pretty busy with Christmas, New Year's, all that stuff. And then we had a storm and power outages and then a bunch of tree limb clearing. Anyway, so, and then latter part of last year I had my little dog go through spinal surgery. So you can't imagine how much that costs. So anyway, that made me rethink the 6.3 project on my approach because there was various parts I wanted to purchase. So instead of doing that, give me a chance to save some money up, I was going to switch tack and go on to more labour intensive things that don't just cost me my time and physical effort, you know. And that means going back to the welding. I've got all my metal. Metal doesn't really cost much in sheet form, and it's just a question of getting on with it. Got my welder. So first things first was to be able to make a body cart to be able to move the car around easily in the garage, and because I've got limited space in here, I'm kind of cramped over to one side, so I want to be able to rotate it around as needed to be able to access all parts above the rockers and all that, and just make it easier, and also raise the car about 5 inches from where it's at right now. And eventually this will also enable me to roll the thing outside to do any filthy work, you know, sanding, all that stuff outside on the nice days that we have. And in the future I do want to flip the car on its side to access the underside. I've got various ideas that I'll discuss with you in a bit about that. Again, I have a limited space here, and that has to be taken into consideration for the design. So let me take you over to the body cart, all made up, all finished, give you some basic measurements, reasons why I built it the way I did, and those of you who are kind of handy, you probably won't watch the rest of it because it's welding, but if you want to stick around and see me welding all the various parts, please do. And yeah, so let me get over there and I'll show you what I've done. You're probably asking, why is he painting that colour? In actual fact, it's kind of copied off the 70s colour of the Golf Porsche colours, you know. I looked at Mercedes colours and they didn't really have much around there that inspired me. So I thought it was a bit of fun, you know, the light blue and the orange. You've probably seen it. I think it's Team Golf or something like that. But anyway, that's just a bit of fun. So as you can see, it's tubular steel. I've used the larger sections. The larger connecting sections are 2.5 inch 3/16 wall steel, which is very heavy duty. The other framework, the main blue framework, is 2 inch square tube 3/16, which is plenty strong enough, and then I've braced it here. They're about 1 foot long on the outside, 45s to brace the corners there, or the connection point. Now overall it's 5 feet from side to side. Okay, this length can be cut down. That center has not been cut yet because I'm yet to fit this to the car, and then that will get cut to fit. These square tubes are sleeves, essentially, that sleeves into both ends, and they're 1 foot long, those guys. Each of these units, the caster holders and the upright holders, are, I think, 8 inches long. Yeah, they're 8 inches. Oh, these ones, oh yeah, they're 8 inches as well. So essentially, just boxes of that. I've got 1/4 inch plate on the bottom here. And these casters I picked up, they're about 25 bucks each. They raised this cart 9 inches. So they're nice large casters. I wanted that so I could roll it over the rough ground outside and then make it easier also to push the car around in the garage. They're swivel and lock ones as well. These are 5/8 bolts that obviously make this completely adjustable, and they're just 5/8 bolts just bolted in and welded nuts on there onto this square tube. That, I must admit, is where a lot of the work is. You know, when you're cutting, drilling holes all over the place, it ends up taking most of the time. The welding actually is the most enjoyable part of it, and kind of you can zip through that. These main uprights are obviously for the front subframe. Let me just undo that nut and I'll show you how I've got it set up here. Okay, I think that orange is kind of throwing the colour off on the camera, but anyway, let's see. Okay, so these just slip straight on like that, and that is the same configuration for the subframe. That will bolt onto the subframe, and then the unit is designed, the way I've designed this is to have the casters off, okay. This is low to the ground, this is slipped underneath and lifted up into position, bolted into position, and then lifted with a jack or my crane to slide the wheels on. That's the idea. We'll see how that goes. I'll probably have some help doing that because obviously I don't have access to a lift to lower the shell onto it. So that's what I've come up with. So this kind of gets pushed up from below, caster slipped on, and then as I say, this will bring it 5 inches higher than what it is right now on my wooden tower setup. Now let's see if to the subframe undermounts, for the underside I should say, we are just over 39.5 inches, and let's move towards the back now. Again, another foot sleeve, 8-inch plates, 1/4-inch plate. Again, all of this is adjustable. Look at my wrench. Now these, normally you've probably noticed on a lot of these stands that people have posted on the maintenance group, they attach to the rear shock towers of the car, but I wanted the rear of the car to hang off right at the back here because I need to access a lot of the metal towards the back. So these guys are designed to lock onto the dog legs where the thrust arms forward connection bolt is on the underside, if you know where I mean. That hole there is to allow the threaded bolt to go through without getting damaged or galled up or anything like that. And these pads here are 1/4-inch plate, and later on in the video I'll show you how I line those up with the dog leg, because you can see they're not straight, they're kind of an angle. So, and that's because of the shape of the dog leg. So this is the same principle again. As far as removal, just a 5/8 bolt here, and then let me get that on. There we go. And then this just rests straight onto that little tower there. So that goes straight on, bolts on. And what's nice about this also is that if this, you know, when I'm done with this job, this might end up getting sold. Is that someone can make up their own connections on both ends, really. And kind of the, it's endless really, the combinations. I don't know whether I mentioned, but these casters are rated for £450, £500 each, so it's around £2,000 load. So I do believe the 109, without anything in it, none of the axles, subframe, engine, transmission, is around £1,000 in weight, I believe. So I was thinking of adding another caster in the middle, but I think it would be kind of redundant at this stage anyway, until we get talking about the rotisserie situation, because all of the weight is on these 4 corners. Obviously this is purely just to connect them to stop them flipping and tie it all together. Now as far as the rotisserie situation, as you can see, I've got this stupid step inside my garage here, and as you know, most rotisseries, they really stick off the back of the car quite a ways, you know, a good couple of feet at least, and I just can't afford that room with the garage door like that, you see. So what I'm going to probably end up doing is use this frame, slide these off, okay, the uprights off, and put outriggers on the ends of here. Just same principle, sleeved outriggers that get bolted into place. Use the main frame, and then this crossbar goes above this step, you see. So my head unit, so to speak, of the rotisserie can come out and up to the correct amount to be able to rotate the car. So my thought is to turn this into a modular system where it can either be a body cart and also a rotisserie when you get to that stage. So that is what I plan on doing. As far as cost of this, I was looking at body carts, and a really good quality body cart, you got to spend around £1,000. That's what I found. You could certainly get them for 500, but they seemed very lightweight to me and kind of chintzy. And all of this material, casters cost me just over $100. All of the metal, I think it added up to around just shy of $500, and obviously miscellaneous bolts and all that stuff. So it's not really cheap, I'd say, but it's a ton of fun to make your own. And like I say, I wanted this to be a modular setup, so you can configure it for any vehicle really. And obviously a rotisserie, this is going to have to be a lot longer to go to the two ends of the car, and then I probably will put a caster plate there to have a support for that extra long beam. Also, another reason for this design is that it all comes down the largest piece really, well, the section, the middle section obviously, and then these end section about 5 foot, but they can easily be, you know, slid away off to the side somewhere behind a toolbox, and then all of these modular parts all break down into a small pile of metal really. And so there you have it. Hopefully you've got all the measurements you need. I can't wait this weekend. Hopefully my buddy will come over and help us put it on, and then I'll be spinning the car around. So let's go on with the welding of it, and if you don't need to, thanks for watching. So these are 8 inch, this is a 2.5 inch square tube, 3/16 wall, very heavy duty stuff. And I've drilled a series of holes in or more, as you can see, and I've mounted nuts in them, welded nuts, captured nuts, because these will act as holder sleeves for the two purposes. Now one, let me go and get piece of plate. On all 4 corners obviously we're going to have casters, so I have this is 1/4 inch plate. I've got to tidy it up, obviously. That gets welded to that and bolted through for the casters to sit on. As I say, I didn't need to show you all the cutting, that was kind of laborious. Cutting intersections, drilling these holes. These are 5/8 holes. I drilled a 1/4 inch pilot hole, and then I put the bolt in there just to make sure it's centered correctly. Let's get that tack welded on. I'll remove the bolts and then complete the weld. For those of you who want to know, I switched the solid wire on the MIG welder out to 030 wire. It's a little thicker, needs a little bit more heat to get it rolling, but that's for the heavier gauge stuff. Normal body work is 023 wire, a lot finer and more appropriate for thinner sheet metal. Now, as far as cost of one of these, you know, some of these they vary, you know, different designs of body carts. And some of them are, you know, anywhere from $500 to $1,000. As I say, some of the body carts didn't look heavy duty enough, and so I thought also save a little money and also have a bit of fun building your own car, and then you can customize it every which way you need to. So I went with a 3/16 wall just because it's that much heavier. Those are all done. Let's weld up the uprights on the front. And I haven't figured out the height of the rear ones yet. I'll do that either later today or in the week, but you'll get the basic principles of what I do in here and go from there. So, okay, got that all set up. You don't want to rely just on these to get your 90, so I just use this square here to make sure everything's lined up nice. That looks pretty good. I put a tack on each corner. I'm also going to add some bracing here as well, obviously, because I don't want to just rely on that. Maybe some 1/4 inch plate or some more of this stock, like a little stubby leg here. I'll probably do a few passes on each one of these just to make sure this joint, some plans call out for a 3-pass, that one top and then again. And I probably will do that, not on camera, but you get the idea. So there's the first one. I did a 3-pass on each corner. I went in the middle, on the top and on the bottom as well, to really get good strong weld. I'm also going to put a gusset plate in there as well. So obviously all the pressure is downwards, but when you go pushing from the cart from side to side, it does put some stress on that joint there, and so I'm underneath it. So well, I probably won't be actually underneath it when I'm pushing it, obviously, but I'm going to make it as strong as possible. And I obviously always will have, because these are about 4 inches taller than the wooden towers I made, I'll always have those wooden towers underneath there as well if I'm working underneath the car. And I cut these little 45 square tube just to fill in here, just for absolute strength, for obviously safety as well. And I just like welding stuff together, to be honest with you. But no, I do think that's going to add a substantial amount of strength to that, because obviously this is slightly thinner tube than this one, and I just, for this kind of strength laterally, I guess, or horizontally, that'll add some strength. So let me get that welded in. I put a little bevel, a little bit more of a bevel on there to kind of increase the surface, welding surface area. So let me get that tacked in there. Right, now we've got the uprights welded up. Next thing to do is weld the plates on for the casters. This is 1/4 inch plate. Drilled the 4 holes in that, cleaned the metal up obviously, and we're going to set that guy on there as well. So first of all, we get the nuts and bolts in the correct position. So I'm going to tack weld those on so they're fixed nuts, so I don't have to worry about 2 wrenches. I can just bolt these casters straight on. That's better. Just get that centered on the plate. I'll put a couple of tacks in that. Cooled off, and we can bolt the caster to that. Well, actually, yeah, get that bolted on. Now we've got. I would like to take these corners off as well, so I'll do that off camera. That's pretty easy. Just cut them off and round them off, make them look nice, and that's all the caster stuff. It's kind of nice just not having to use another wrench, just to capture. And obviously, I didn't want to weld these. I've seen some people welding these plates to the. Welding the actual caster plates to the job, you know, and I don't want to do that because, you know, you might end up wanting to change something down the line. That's it. So that's that caster one unit done. Just give you an overview. Obviously this is the bottom, okay, so this is the spine of the car, and these are the uprights connecting to the subframe, and we're actually pretty much 3 foot on center on the subframe of the 108, 109. So I set these at 18 inches to center, and that'll give me an idea of how long of a reinforcement bar I can make. Obviously I don't want to go too far because otherwise I won't get these on. And then the end parts here are essentially where the casters will go. You see? So we'll just mark here. That's where we can't go beyond that. So I will cut some 45s on here. I've got some other 2-inch tubing to do that, and then this will be immensely strong then. And this is pretty much done. These are pretty much done except for the top mounts, and I'm in 2 minds how to do that. I'll show you about that in a minute. Okay, so now I've got the crossbars welded in. Got my uprights on, my casters on, and here's the connecting bar. 2-inch connecting bar with a foot-long sleeves here, made just the same as the others, and the crossbar at the other end. I went and picked some more metal up at the metal store just the other day, and now this is the rear end. Actually, I've got to make my little uprights for the rear, but before I do that, I want to show you what I'm going to do. Now these are obviously for the front subframe, and this is what I've come up with. Now here's obviously a subframe mount, and I'm going to make a plate that goes on top of here with 4 receiving nuts. So I bolt down onto these towers, and then another nut here, you see, that will be welded on there. So my idea, these get bolted under the subframe, okay, and then this whole unit is brought in from underneath without the casters on, okay, so it will be low enough, and then I can lift it with a crane into, connect into those, and then lift it up and then slide the casters on. That's the idea. I didn't want to weld anything permanent to these uprights, because in case this gets used in other configurations, you can make your own mounts up, you see. So that goes like that, and then a bolt to lock it into place, and there's a good generous 4-inch overlap there, so that's not going anywhere. And yeah, a top plate there bolted on. So let's get and make the other one up of that. It's pretty straightforward. 2-inch inside, 1.5 inches, 3/16 stock. To make sure I get the piece at the right height in this sleeve, you see, I just cut a 4-inch stock there, so that goes on there, you see. I did this to the other one I made, and then this guy will stop at the same space as the other, you see. And then I use little magnets to keep that centered. That can come out now. I'll get that welded up. Just as a side note, there's various ways I've been experimenting with the torch, you know, to get a nice, you know, a nice looking bead. Some people do a whip and pause action. They kind of whip and pause, whip and pause, whip and pause. Some people do circles. I did circles for a period of time, but now I'm doing a kind of a C action, and I seem to be getting tidier looking welds like that. But you know, each to his own, I guess. So I've drilled the holes in the plate, so I've cleaned all the metal up, ready for welding. I got these 3/8 nuts, and I've checked my location for the subframe, and that will locate perfect. So let me tack weld those captured nuts on there, and then we can weld these on to the receiving tubes, and then we're good to go on the front then, pretty much. So let me tack those guys on. So there you have it, all cleaned up. I ran some 80 grit over it just to kind of, you know, clean it up a little bit and get ready for paint, because I will obviously put some paint on all this. But as you can see, you know, these kind of modular things that can, the body cart can go on to different cars, you know, not that I intend doing any different cars, but also this is located, then all I have to do is slip the pipe in there when I bring it underneath. So there we have it. There's the two. I just painted them yellow just to kind of, I just had yellow and I just wanted to do it. So they're the two subframe mount holder things. I've just got to do the end ones now for the rear subframe, and I'm going to go on to those. I think if you're familiar with those triangular dog leg things at the back where the thrust arms connect to, normally people go to the the shock towers, which are either side, but I want to get close to the shock towers with some repair work, so I'm going a little forward of that. It's balanced at that point now, so I know that the car is good like that. So where the towers are now is where the thrust arms are, basically. So that's where I'm going to connect to. And then it gives the whole rear of the car hanging right off, so I can get all the way around it. Right, it's the next day now. Wife's out shopping with her friends, so I was able to get back in the garage again. Now we're working on the rear mount. Now, I figured out that all we need is this stubby receiver block. This is about 3.5 inches long, just over. And so that will slide on just like the other uprights. And then I've worked out to raise it the same at the back, we're only going to need standoffs this high. Okay, this is 10 inches. I'm going to drop the front about 3 inches just because we're getting a little bit high and I don't want to get it too high up off the ground. So that gains just 5 inches from what it is now. So this locks on underneath. That goes on there and bolts on, you see. So now we're working on the receiver plates that go on that little dog leg near the forward thrust arm. This is 1/4 inch plate, and there's a dog leg, so to speak. Okay, it's just a beam that curves. It's not straight. So I drilled a hole to accommodate the bolt to go through, so it doesn't damage the threads of the bolt that's on the car. And also it acts as a kind of a holder. And then I've scribed a line. You can see that it's a kind of a angle here. And then I'm going to weld in some plates here, slight, not straight up, but slight angled out like this. I'll tack weld them and play around with it a bit. And this will be the opposite on the other side, obviously. And then this gets welded on the top of there. And then this will be the rear holders, essentially. Now, depending on your configuration, you know, you can weld on whatever you like on the top. If you were going into the shock towers, you might have these would have to be on a slight angle because the shock towers are at an angle, but you could figure that out. So let's get a couple of plates cut up, probably about 3.5, 4 inches tall, so it's like a yoke. Okay, so let me get that done. I'll figure that out and get back to you. I've decided 4 inches, just approximate. I'm going to tack weld that at an approximate angle, and then I can tap it one way or another when I hold it up to the job, you know. So let's get that tacked in. So I'll try and hold it. So here's the post. This is where the thrust arm connects to. Obviously those triangular places. And this is this nice dog leg here. Like I say, it's angled a little strange. So this plate should fit something like that. That's actually pretty tasty. That works nice. And then obviously we just got to do the opposing one on the other side. And then the bolt thread is protected underneath there. So that's not going to get knocked or anything, and then we can just weld our tower to that. So that's come out pretty good actually. The angle's good. I needed to tap it just a couple of blows and then it was good. So let's weld the other side on and tidy it up and weld it all up. There we go. Got welded both sides inside, and hopefully I can get my welder properly inside there, and then the other one same angle this way but flares out slightly like that. So good penetration on the 1/4 inch plate, so that should be nice and strong, and we cool that off and line the other one up. So I forgot to film the other side of it, so I got one side on, brought it up, and then just scored a line with the profile of the dog leg to get the other approximate, and I just tack weld it, tapped it around a few times to satisfy myself that it was in the right position, and then finished welded it on. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Really appreciate you watching. This is Bree. This is the one responsible for the change of tack, so to speak, but she's doing really well. Still not walking yet, unfortunately, but we'll see how that goes. So once we get the car on, when I get my buddy Will over here, I'll show you moving it around. We might even push it outside, we'll see how it goes, but definitely move it around in the garage. Give me that extra room for finishing off all the welding above the rocker. And then once we've got all that satisfied, and I'm at that stage, I will remove the doors, brace the door apertures with steel, make sure we lock everything and make sure everything's locked together before we even consider turning this on a rotisserie setup that I'm more than likely going to have to make. So anyway, thanks a lot for watching, guys. Say goodbye, and please hit like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video, and we'll get some videos cranking on now I've had a little bit of a break, and get pushed on in the new year. Alright, cheers guys, take care, bye bye.